My family just moved to a new, bigger apartment, which ended up costing a lot less than we expected. So we decided to replace all our appliances and home decor items. After a long day of unloading our storage and carrying everything up to the second floor apartment, I was exhausted, but I still had to go to Walmart to get everything my apartment needed. I was accompanied by my 10-year-old son, who is a little tall for his age and looks older than he really is. When we entered Walmart, it was packed, and the checkout lines were stretching into the clothes aisle. While my son and I were shopping, he started playing Pokemon Go on my phone and walked behind me. We finally got everything we needed and headed to the checkout. As I walked around looking for the shortest line, I walked past this woman standing in the clothing section, clearly not in line but staring at the checkout. My son and I got in line behind another customer, about 10 feet away from where she was standing. 5 minutes into our wait, my son got excited about catching a new Pokemon and asked me to try catching one too. Since the line was moving slowly, I figured, why not? He handed me the phone, and I attempted to play. When I was trying my second attempt to catch a Pokemon, I noticed out of the corner of my eye a shopping cart at the front side of mine. I looked up to see the same woman from before, Karen, with her back facing me, peeking my way, trying to be nonchalant and pretend I wasn't there. At first, I didn't say anything, thinking she was looking at clothes or waiting for someone. I kept playing the game with my son but started paying more attention to our surroundings and to Karen. As the customer before us moved up in the line, we moved forward too, but at this point, Karen was inching closer between me and the customer. She obviously thought I wasn't paying attention because she tried to push her cart in front of mine. I pushed my cart forward, which blocked her way, and she then proceeded to push her cart into mine. I politely told her that we were here in line first, pointing out that she had been standing way over there when we got in line. Karen insisted she had been in line before us, claiming she had only stepped away to find a manager, but that this was still her spot. I explained to her that wasn't how it worked, even if she had been in line before. I pointed out that she had stepped out and wasn't anywhere near this line when we arrived. And though there had been a manager where she was standing, she hadn't spoken to anyone in the 20 minutes we'd been waiting. I asked her to please wait her turn at the back of the line since everyone was in a rush to leave. Karen accused me of not knowing what was happening because I'd been looking at my phone the whole time. She insisted she had been in line first, behind the customer, in front of us. She threatened to tell the manager I was cutting in line and have me thrown out and banned from Walmart if I didn't move. I told her to go ahead and do whatever she wanted because I didn't care, and she wasn't cutting in front of me. Karen called me a witch and started to walk away, but not before trying to ram me with her cart. My son stepped in to protect me, but got hit in his side instead. I called out after her, pointing out that she had just hit my son with her cart, and telling her she was crazy and shouldn't come to Walmart if she couldn't wait in line. Karen walked off, and we thought it was over. The customer in front of me was at the register unloading when Karen returned with a manager. The manager approached me and explained that Karen had accused me of cutting her in line and threatening to beat her up if she didn't leave. He said they didn't tolerate such behavior and asked me to leave the store. Before I could explain, Karen interrupted, now claiming I had hit her with my cart too. She demanded I be arrested for assault, saying I had threatened her life just because she wouldn't let me skip the line. The customer in front of me turned around, clearly irritated, and told everyone she had been in line for 30 minutes and Karen had never been behind her. She described how Karen had been the one making threats and ramming carts, even hitting my son. The manager asked if this was true, and both my son and I confirmed it was. As I tried to explain my side, Karen kept interrupting, calling us liars, and demanding my immediate arrest. The manager tried to calm her down, but she just got louder, demanding to see his manager. When he explained he was a general manager, she threatened his job. The customer stepped in again to defend us, which just made Karen angrier. She started insulting the customer, who stood her ground and said she would always speak out against people like Karen. The manager finally called the police. When they arrived, Karen immediately started crying and accused me of threatening her life and attacking her. My son defended me, telling the officer that Karen had attacked us for not letting her cut in line. Karen then insulted my son, calling him pathetic and saying I was violent. My son stood up for me, pointing out that Karen was the violent one who couldn't even watch her language around kids and had hit him with her cart. When the officer asked for security footage, Karen suddenly got nervous and started making excuses to leave. The manager pointed out that she had insisted on calling the police, and since she hadn't even checked out yet, there was plenty of time to review the footage. When she tried to leave, the officer told her she was being detained. Karen protested that she had rights, but the officer explained she was facing a third-degree felony for assaulting a minor with a weapon. After reviewing the footage, Karen was arrested for assault of a minor, reckless endangerment of a child, and disturbing the peace. She was also banned from all Walmart stores. When they led her out in handcuffs, she kept denying hitting a minor, but the officer reminded her that my son was only 10 years old and suggested she use her right to remain silent since everyone was tired of her foul mouth. The manager apologized for our experience and gave my son and me each a $50 gift card. Karen was facing up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine for her actions that day. This year has been particularly good for me career-wise. After 3 years of consistent performance, I finally got the promotion I'd been working towards. To celebrate, I decided to treat myself to something I've been eyeing for years: a pair of expensive sneakers. These weren't just any sneakers. They were the ones I've been drooling over on social media for months, but could never justify buying. While browsing online, I came across a seller offering these exact sneakers at a price that seemed too good to be true. Our initial conversation was simple enough. I asked if the sneakers were still available, and he confirmed they were brand new and never worn. When I mentioned buying them through the website, he suggested we could do the deal directly to avoid seller fees, offering to knock off $40. I expressed my concerns about the risks, but he reassured me by suggesting we use Chase Quick Pay, insisting it was totally secure. To prove his legitimacy, he even offered to show me evidence. He then sent me several pictures of shipping receipts showing multiple successful deliveries to other customers. It looked convincing enough, and I thought I was being smart by using my bank's payment system. After sending the money, radio silence. Complete ghost. That's when my blood started to boil. It wasn't even about the money anymore. It was about the principle. I refused to let this person get away with it. I channeled my inner detective and started digging. Found the guy's social media accounts, and through some online directories I managed to get his home phone number. Turns out he still lived with his parents. Perfect. When I called, his mother answered. I explained that I needed to speak with her son about some fraudulent activity. She seemed confused and told me he wasn't home, asking what this was about. I warned her that unless she wanted police showing up at their door, she should have him call me back immediately. 5 minutes later, I got a restricted call. Plot twist. It wasn't our scammer at all. It was some poor guy whose phone had been stolen on New Year's Eve. The thief had been using his accounts to scam people for days. But here's where it gets interesting. The real owner of the stolen phone had tracked down the scammer's actual social media accounts. I took a chance and sent the scammer a picture from his real Facebook profile. His response was immediate. He demanded to know where I got that picture. Then, in what I can only assume was panic, he texted me from his actual phone number. Rookie mistake. I decided to play it up and told him that the Chase fraud specialist was very interested in those shipping receipts he sent, explaining how those tracking numbers would be useful for their investigation. I mentioned that we now had his photos and real contact information. He nervously asked about what investigation and what they knew. I laid it all out for him. I told him we knew everything, including about the guy whose phone he stole. I mentioned the active police investigation and gave him an ultimatum. Either refund my money now, or all this evidence would go to the authorities. He quickly offered to return the money if I promised to delete everything. Within 5 minutes, my money was back in my account, sent from his personal account, which showed his real name. Even better, this name was slightly different from his Facebook profile, giving us yet another piece of evidence. I gathered everything: the screenshots, his real name, phone number, and payment information, and sent it all to the guy whose phone was stolen. Apparently, the scammer had been making his life miserable, with dozens of angry people calling and emailing about being scammed. I went and bought those sneakers from a legitimate site anyway. They cost a bit more, but watching this scammer panic and scramble to cover his tracks was worth every extra penny. Last I heard, all his fake accounts were deleted, and he'd blocked me everywhere. But it didn't matter. The real victim had everything he needed to take legal action. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I was more than happy to help it along. I wasn't directly involved in this situation at first, but my brother got scammed, and being the protective little sibling I am, I helped him get revenge. I had just finished my service in the Marine Corps and was starting college when all this went down. My brother had just graduated with a computer science degree and landed a great job. His new company told him they'd provide him with a specific laptop for work, so he decided to sell his nearly new MacBook Pro. This was a 2015 model being sold in 2017, still worth almost $2,000, and he was asking a reasonable $1,500 for it. He listed it on OfferUp and got several lowball offers, but this one guy didn't even make an offer. Instead, he just sent a message asking if my brother used Venmo. My brother did use Venmo for our family transactions, so he wasn't suspicious. The guy offered to pay the full $1,500 right away. They connected on Facebook, and soon my brother got a notification saying the payment went through. He met up with the guy and handed over the laptop. A few days later, my brother noticed the money never hit his bank account, and the payment notification disappeared from Venmo. He called customer service demanding to know why the app had shown he received money when he hadn't. The representative just brushed him off, saying it was a family and friends app meant for small transactions. My brother got even more frustrated, pointing out how ridiculous it was that they showed the money as received when it wasn't actually there. He tried contacting the scammer, but the guy had blocked him on Facebook and deleted his OfferUp profile. That's when my brother got smart. He asked his co-workers if they were selling their old laptops too, since the company provided new ones. One co-worker mentioned getting the exact same message about Venmo. That's when it clicked. This guy was running a systematic scam. That's where I came in. My brother told me everything, and I was furious. We set up a trap. I posted the same laptop model at a similar price. Within 20 minutes, the scammer sent the exact same message asking if I used Venmo. I quickly confirmed that I did. When I told my brother we caught him, he was ready for revenge. He asked if we should teach the guy a lesson, wondering if I could use what I learned in the Marines to handle him. I had to be the voice of reason and point out that while I could definitely do something, it probably wasn't worth going to prison over, even though I was willing if he really wanted to. We discovered the scammer lived right next to a police station. We went in, showed them all our evidence, and they actually wanted to help. They assigned 2 detectives but insisted we stay in their cars during the operation. The scammer then messaged me saying he couldn't meet up because he didn't have enough money. I quickly thought on my feet and suggested a payment plan, offering to take half now and half later since I was already there. He fell for it and sent what was probably another fake payment of $680. When he walked out of his apartment, the police moved in. The police searched his apartment with his permission and found my brother's laptop, which he was already trying to sell on a new OfferUp account. They were going to let him off with just a citation, but my brother wouldn't accept that. He showed the detectives how the guy had attempted the same scam 3 times in 1 week, with him, his co-worker, and our sting operation. The detectives dug deeper, and it turned out this wasn't his first rodeo. They found evidence of $30,000 worth of stolen goods, and he ended up going to prison. The best part was seeing my brother's satisfied smile when they took the scammer away in handcuffs. Sometimes having a protective sibling who just got out of the Marine Corps and a brother smart enough to gather evidence pays off. That scammer probably thought he was untouchable, living right next to a police station and running his little scheme. Sarah and I had been friends since high school. I'd always supported her through what we diplomatically called her health concerns. Every few months, she convinced herself she had some new exotic disease. First, it was a brain tumor, turned out to be a headache, then some tropical disease she supposedly caught at the local mall. But we all played along because confronting her only made things worse. When I got engaged, she seemed genuinely happy for me. Then came the email that made my jaw drop. She would only attend my wedding if every single guest, all 200 of them, provided their complete medical records. Her reason? She'd discovered through extensive research, translation, WebMD, and Facebook groups that she had an ultra-rare condition making her allergic to people with unknown medical histories. I tried to be understanding. I really did. I gently explained that I couldn't possibly ask my guests to share their private medical information. I offered alternatives. She could sit at a separate table, wear a mask, or even attend virtually. But no, she insisted it was all medical records or certain death. When I refused, she warned me that any medical emergencies would be my fault. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The reception was in full swing when she burst in wearing a medical mask and rubber gloves like she was about to perform surgery. What followed was worthy of a daytime soap opera: dramatic gasping, theatrical collapse, and declarations about her impending doom due to unvetted people. Thank goodness her cousin Linda was there. As a nurse practitioner who had treated Sarah, she knew exactly what we were dealing with. Linda calmly exposed Sarah's history of similar performances, including the time she declared herself allergic to water while drinking a Diet Coke. The worst part wasn't the scene itself. It was the look of triumph in Sarah's eyes when my mother frantically tried to call an ambulance. She was enjoying this. She was trying to teach me a lesson for not taking her condition seriously. My brother, who handles security for a living, finally escorted her out. Her parting words? A shrill warning that we'd all be sorry if anything happened to her. 6 months later, she's still perfectly fine, apart from being branded the medical records wedding crasher on social media. I've lost my oldest friend, but I realize now that our friendship was always one-sided. Me constantly managing her need for attention, her always manufacturing the next crisis. I'd ignored the red flags for years, the constant self-diagnoses, the mysterious ailments that only appeared when someone else had good news to share, the demands for special treatment. Some of our mutual friends have suggested I forgive her, saying she might have Munchausen syndrome or need professional help. Maybe they're right about the help, but crashing my wedding to prove a point about a made-up allergy was the final straw. Some friendships, like some illnesses, are better left in the past.